Welcome back to the show. It is the 17th of August, 2020, and we're going to do a little bit of Q&A. I did a little bit of homework, went into some of the Facebook groups and got some questions. A lot of very beginner questions, but we're going to start off with that tonight. I thought it might be fun, and as soon as I get back, we will go from there. Be right back in a moment. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Changing our format around just a little bit. I thought tonight we would try going into answering some people's questions directly. I have a few Facebook groups that I'm a member of, and I find there's a lot of people asking questions in there and aren't getting correct answers, or they're not getting enough answers and not getting any answers at all. So I have directed people to come and take a view at this show here on YouTube, but barring that, I do have a copy of all their questions, and so those of them that are tuning in, hopefully I'll get to your question tonight. And why don't we start off with, let's just see what we're going to do here. I put a whole bunch of, I'm going to look at these one at a time and just read them off, kind of give you an idea of what's going on. So I get this thing to respond. Let's see. This question says, I mean, this is how very basic some people are. They're quite vague, as a matter of fact. It says, I am new. What exercise should I do first? And this is actually done, I can't pronounce her name, Mamilia Endiovo. It's extremely hard to pronounce. Okay, to this individual, I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do when somebody doesn't give you a lot of information. Exercises don't need to be overly intricate at the beginning. A basic set of exercises that anybody could explain to you at any gym would be just fine when you're just starting out. You got to keep in mind that when you're just starting out, your body should respond to just about anything. Literally, I mean, if you've had a very stagnant lifestyle and you go out and do any type of physical exercise, your body will give you some type of response. Of course, this is a little bit different, and you're looking to maybe lose weight or gain some muscle. Either case, you want to start with the very basics, nothing fancy. You know, for most part, most people could do a 3-day-a-week work cycle. Do their body completely, because they do not have to take things to that extreme level to get a result. And I think we'll just leave that at that, because that question is definitely quite vague. What is this? Okay, second question up. You have to pardon me, I got a little rushed into this. I had everything all set up, and then I ended up with some problems with my camera, and I had to reset everything. Okay, it says, this is a question from John Lloyd Tellen Iwe. And it says, hi guys, is it really necessary to take supplements or to use whey protein to achieve an aesthetic body? Well, first of all, there is no need to take supplements, period, at all. If you're just an average trainer, you can build a great physique without any supplements. I mentioned in previous live streams that I've actually gone to and competed and won shows and didn't so much as even take a protein supplement. Nothing. So it can be done. Where do supplements come more into play is if you actually, you know, if your diet is lacking, of course, then you need to really attack your diet. If you have a medical situation, and what I always like to tell clients is to go get yourself, get a panel done. Ask your doctor, is there anything, he'll be able to tell from what you eat on a regular basis if you're lacking in something. Most people aren't really lacking in any one specific vitamin, mineral. I mean, some people do have iron deficiencies, things like that. And of course, people with certain medical conditions can certainly be lacking. That aside, there aren't a whole lot of supplements that I recommend to anybody. And as a beginner, I don't recommend any, not whatsoever. The only possible exception to that would be the really hard gainer, meaning the extreme ectomorph, who has a problem putting on any weight at all. I might get them take a protein supplement or maybe even a weight gaining supplement. But I really don't like to. I don't like to send people to use weight gaining supplements, because basically all they are is a protein supplement loaded with piles of sugar. That is it. Okay, let's go to the next question. Let's get out of this one here. And okay, what does this one say? Bear with me here for a minute. Computer's running a couple of screens at the same time. It takes a little bit of time to come up. Could I please get tips on how to get rid of my belly fat? Okay, this question has got to be the top question that I see in all the groups, and I see it repetitively all day long, all night long. Obviously, people are not actually going through the group and even looking for previous answers, because you can search. And this question has been answered by myself multiple times, by other people multiple times. Belly fat is no different than lower back fat, arm fat, facial fat. Fat is fat. Fat is on your body. Your body determines where you are going to lose body fat, and to what degree, and in what order. You have no control over that. Anybody that's trying to sell you products that say specifically they'll be able to reduce your waistline, or that you see that all the time, remove inches off your waistline. Well, the fact is, if you have carrying a lot of body fat in other areas, your body's going to tell you where it's going to take that body fat from. Some people, and part of it is it's all genetic, but sometimes it doesn't even make sense. Sometimes you might not even have as much body fat in certain areas, and other areas such as your face. Many people, their whole face will get very caved in almost in appearance. And while they're dieting, long before they see any tremendous difference in their waistline or any other area, maybe their legs or their hips that are storing body fat. So bottom line is, there is no such thing as spot reduction, and there are no such thing as gimmicks, be it pills or drinks, and anybody that's selling you that stuff is trying to sell you crap. So make your way out from their presence and go get yourself to the gym, eating a good diet, find yourself a trainer if you like, and you'll be doing a lot better. Okay, let's move along here further. Kind of relates to a previous question I've already answered here. I'm gonna look at this question. I think it's just coming up here now. It says, what is the best supplement for a beginner? Once again, no such thing as a beginner needing a supplement. But if I was going to say, if I was hard pressed to the wall to say, give me something, I'm going to tell you to take a protein supplement, because for many people it's hard to take in the required amount of protein in a sequence of meals. If you're a 200-pound person and you just started training, and I don't mean a 200-pound overweight person, let's say you just average body, 200 pounds, the golden rule is kind of, 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And none of that has ever been proven to be fact, so that everybody knows. I'll generally use a guideline of 0.75 to 1.25 grams per pound of body weight for somebody. With that said, sometimes it's hard to get in that much food. I know myself that I do not have the capacity to eat a lot of meals. I get very full very fast, and with the medical condition that I incurred in 2016, it made it even worse. So I would recommend a protein supplement, not a weight gainer supplement, a protein supplement. If I was if someone was a little further along and they've been making good progress and they are dedicated and they have specific goals in mind, There aren't many other supplements I'd recommend, but creatine is one of them. I have been through the ringer with creatine. I believe in it 100%. It's not going to give you results that steroids will, and all you know that I have a natural platform, totally dead set against all types of drugs. Creatine would be the only exception I'd say as a supplement other than whey protein. And a good whey isolate is what I'd recommend. Okay. Okay, next question. Let's go. Here's a gentleman. I don't even see his name. I'm going to try and bring it up. Maybe I can see his name. You have to pardon me. I didn't get much supper in. Just taking a little sip of coffee. Lee Phillips is his name. I forget which group he comes from, but he says he is thinking of, anyone know how to get started on becoming a bodybuilder to compete? Well, Lee, if you happen to be listening by any chance, getting ready for a show is no different than, if your goal is to basically get put on body weight or to put on lean body mass, you basically would approach training the same way, of course, other than the period prior to the actual show. Your training shouldn't be any different. If you have training that is working for you on a day-to-day basis, giving you the gains that you want, there's no need to make any extravagant changes. Case in point, I can tell you after 4 decades of training people, training myself in competitions, always doing well, winning several, that many people blow everything in those last 2 to 3 months. Most people will set aside, and I'm talking natural athletes, people that are using drugs will approach things different because everything's depending on their cycles. Okay, so I only speak to natural athletes. So generally speaking, you're probably looking at, if you kept yourself in, let's say, average condition, because most people, I think, tend to carry a little bit too much body fat in the off season. It's not required to make muscular gains. As a matter of fact, I'm a firm believer, as several other people are, that you can actually make gains on a calorie deficit. Not an extreme calorie deficit, but a calorie deficit. And I wouldn't be carrying that on constantly either. But with that said, you would start your preparations. Depending, if I was taking a client in, they said, I want to get ready for the show. Can you get me ready for the show? I would look at them somewhere between 12 and 16 weeks. That's where I want to see them. And let's say I'm seeing somebody, and I'm not going to talk percentages because percentages are lots of bullshit. Fact is, most testing procedures are inadequate. Even the gold standard of hydrostatic weighing is not 100% accurate. It's definitely off by a percentage or two either way, but they do serve as a guideline. Do you need them to get ready for a show? No, you don't need them at all. All you really need is the mirror, because in the end, no one's going to come up with a set of calipers on stage and ask you what your body fat level is. It's how you look. So with that said, when you start to make your preparations, you have to look and see where you're sitting. So let's, to use a number, let's say you're sitting at around 10%. You got a little bit of abdominal showing, and you have a tiny amount of vascularity. I think you could prep for that show and have everything done in 12 weeks. And the idea is to be within killing, within a killing shot a couple of weeks before, because then you can play around with things. If you leave things right down to the last wire, chances are you're going to blow it. You're going to screw it up somehow by panicking or trying to do too much in too little a period of time just before the show. That's where shows are won or lost, within the last 48 hours of a show. And for many people, it's usually a negative thing. Many people lose their show. They can look tremendous a few days before, but they try to get that last little bit and they blow it. So what would I tell you to do to get ready for this show? I would say make sure that you are keeping a catalog of your training and your diet in particular. You have to know where you're starting. If you don't know, your macros, and if you don't know your caloric intake reasonably before you start, how can you create a dietary plan to step by step get you ready without maintaining maximum amount of muscle mass, yet getting as lean as possible for the show? You have to have knowledge, and that knowledge tells you B, where you're going to be, and A, where you are right now. So if you've done your homework and you know where you are at, and you know that this amount of calories and this type of macro setup is generally, maintaining you where you are now. Okay. So then maybe for a start, you might want to knock off, 10% or 15% of your calories. See what happens over the first week or two. If there's not a whole lot, I don't believe, other than water weight, you're going to see a difference in water distribution, especially if you drop your complex carbohydrate intake. If you drop your complex carbohydrate intake, I guarantee you within a day or two, you can see as much as 6 pounds difference. Case in point, I do a lot of experimentation with myself. I'm 60 years old. I was actually going to be getting on stage in October this year, but because of COVID, gym shut down for 4 months. I lost 4 months of training. And when you're a natural, it's hard to make that back in short term. So I'm going in the spring. With that said, I decided I'm going to do a little bit of experimentation. So just this week, I decided that I would not go low on carbohydrate, but go low on complex carbohydrate. So I was eating well over 200 grams of protein. My current body weight was 218 pounds when I started. And I took out, other than a couple of slices of bread, which isn't really a heavy starch anyways, but it's the closest thing to a complex carbohydrate I was taking in. So I took out potatoes and pasta and rice and all forms of vegetables. I didn't have any of it. I was eating fruit carbs, and I was eating chicken. I was still allowing myself to have extra fats in the way of red meats, and I was also allowing myself full eggs and a bit of juice in the morning. With that system, I kid you not, in one day, I dropped 6 pounds. 6 pounds overnight. That's not body fat, folks. That's water content. That's the power of complex carbohydrates binding with water, and storing in your muscles. Because within 2 or 3 days, I was also starting to flatten out, which is what people do when they get ready for a show. Many people do, and most people don't do it right. So it's kind of a hit and miss process of carbohydrate loading. Okay. So what you want to do is get your caloric intake down a bit from your maintenance and watch it. Don't bother watching it every day. Yes, you can catalog what you're doing every day, but what you want to do is you want to take that and take maybe a good look every 3 days or 4 days, once a week for sure. Check in, see how you're looking. Maybe check your body weight. You don't want to be dropping weight too fast, because if you're dropping weight too fast, there's a good chance that you're losing lean body mass at the same time. Okay. There's only a certain amount of body weight you can theoretically lose without digging into your body using its own protein stores, meaning muscle, to serve as energy. So keep that in mind. Okay. As you get closer to the show, like I said, you can adjust up or down. I've had many shows where I'm actually, by the time I get into my 7th week, I'm actually starting to eat up in calories. That's the best place to be. So if you're in really good condition and you drop your weight down and you're dropping your calories down and you're getting leaner, and you're not losing too much weight too quick, and then you're pretty much within killing shot 4 or 5 weeks in advance, which is way too early. But the beauty part about that is you can start eating back up in calories slowly. That's another approach. And it's probably the far safer approach than the individual that leaves it down to the last day or two. Because in that last day or two, really, you could have it all go out the window and down the shitter on you. Okay. So drop your calories. As far as your protein goal should still stay the same. Use your gauge. 1 gram of protein per lean pound of body mass would be fine. Keep it there. Play around. Keep your fats low, but do not eliminate your fats. You need fats in your diet. Everybody I've seen so many people, anyways, that just go on egg whites. I've eaten whole eggs for every show I've ever gone into, and I'm easily in as good a shape as anybody in the show, and better than most. So you can eat whole eggs. That's your source of fat. Okay. Eat some red meat every occasionally, and eat some fish. That's your other forms of fat. And then, stick to, chicken after that, and other forms of maybe leaner fish, and enjoy some red meat. Enjoy a steak here and there. Enjoy some extra lean ground beef. No problems with that. Keep your calories is what you want to keep in mind, and watch your complex carbohydrate. dropping down your complex carbohydrate can definitely, it's going to do more than just water balance. It just happens to take a big toll on your water balance in your first few days. After you're finished with that, you can, utilize the carbohydrates for energy as well. That's your body's actually preferred source of energy. It's not fats, which is what people use on a keto diet. So by adjusting your carbohydrate intake down a bit, not a lot, keeping your fats reasonably low and making sure your protein stays steady, you should be able to achieve that steady state of losing, maximum amount of body fat, over the course of that 12 to 16 week period, without losing or sacrificing too much in the way of lean muscle mass. And that's what I would suggest. Anyways, okay. So let's get, what has happened here? We got to go back on to, okay. Next question here. Okay. Yeah, I think I lost one of my screens. Anyways, we're moving right along here. Okay. Next question. Okay, this is a question actually on creatine. It says, this is from, I can't pronounce this name. I won't even try. Okay, anyways, last name is Denise. Anyways, it's Igwe Denise. Anyways, it says, hey guys, I heard that creatine causes liver damage. So my question is creatine for the body, what other side effects does creatine have? Well, I don't know who informed him of creatine causing liver damage. I will say this, you can take almost any supplement, and take too much of it. And it can actually have deleterious effects on your body. For those that aren't informed, you can actually kill yourself with water. That's the reality. But who in their sane mind ever gets to that point? You would have to take so much creatine. And keep in mind that your body creates endogenous creatine, okay? So, if you're not taking creatine, doesn't mean you're not getting any. Your body produces its own. It's produced in the liver, it's produced in the kidney, okay? And matter of fact, and it's used in the brain, the muscle. And somebody actually today had said, given somebody some information, he was actually a little bit upset that somebody didn't have even a clue what to do with creatine, but the information he was given him was incorrect. He was saying how you can only store, that creatine is actually stored in the liver, but creatine is not stored in the liver, it's actually produced in the liver. Creatine is stored in the muscle, okay, first of all. And it is used to produce energy. And that's the truth of the matter. Creatine is a very safe supplement. It's only a supplement. I do recommend for somebody who's a serious athlete, not the beginner. I don't believe you need to go through the two different phases, but there's what people call creatine loading, and then there's maintenance, okay? So during the loading phase, generally people go for 5 to 7 days, and they will take in anywhere from 20 to 30 grams of creatine a day. But you do not want to sustain that for a long period of time because you can cause yourself some problems. I don't think you're going to cause any severe kidney or liver problems, but you can cause other issues, okay? So after you're done with the loading process, then you would go down to maintenance, which is usually in around 5 grams a day, maximum of 10 in that area. Keeping in mind that your body is creating its own endogenous creatine itself, okay? So I hope that answers your question. Let's get out of that one and we'll go to the next one. Oh, okay. This is, like I said, there are a lot of beginner questions here, which is fine. Beginners need to start somewhere. And I can tell there's a lot of people that need some help. What does it say here? I'm having a bit of an issue here. Okay. How many minutes or hours are recommended working out a day? Okay. This is kind of an open-ended question. Is there any facts that state you can only do this or you can only do that? The answer to this question is different for a natural athlete as opposed to somebody that's using PEDs. I won't go into PEDs individuals. They can deal with that on their own. As a natural athlete, this really goes across the board, but if you can't get in and get done and get what you need to get done in an hour, you're wasting your time. There's people out there that are going to squawk about that, and they're going to say, well, I do that long just to train, one exercise, because there are people that do that because they're wasting their time. But they know everything. They've been training a few years and they know everything, right? Well, I know I have 4 decades behind me and I have a lot of knowledge, a lot of study time, and I've utilized all my hours in the gym to become a bit of a test subject, and I have clients that are, can prove my theories right. And they're not my theories. They've been proven a long time ago. Arthur Jones, long time ago, along with Mike Menser, and along came Dorian Yates. And there are some other big names that have come along now and realize the value of it, although some of them aren't as strict. But high intensity training, for those that can actually do it or withstand it, you will get more results out of that style of training than you will ever get on what is considered standard or the status quo, which is go in and you do 5 or 8 sets of an exercise, 2 or 3 sets. People are doing 20 and 25 sets on a body part. It's just a waste of time, because the bottom line is, and you can't dispute this, you can train long or you can train hard, but you can't train both. And when you train long, I guarantee you're not maximizing your results. And the whole premise about making the most of a shorter period of time is this. All you want to do is put in the minimum amount of time to create the maximum amount of response and give yourself the maximum time for recuperation. That is the equation. So if you've already created the damage to the muscle, and I mean the good damage, I'm not talking you injured yourself. That's what's happening. You're actually breaking down a muscle and then you're causing it to rebuild itself bigger, stronger. Okay? So once you've already achieved that, there's no reason to be doing another set and another set and another set. The other thing you'll notice that people that spend 2 hours plus in the gym is they spend an hour and a half of that talking. They're wasting their time. I see many of these people, they look like they're training reasonably, but I see them sitting there for 3, 4, 5 minutes in between sets. What are you doing? Unless you're an Olympic lifter or you're a power lifter. No. You should be able to get at another set within a minute, tops, really. Maybe a minute and 10, something. But even less than that, especially if you're just basically trying to achieve a nice athletic physique, you're not trying to get ready for a show. I can tell you, I can train clients and I've had myself in that condition, where I put them on circuit training where you're not even resting between sets. And you can still build a body with good muscle, good aesthetics, and far above anybody Joe average. So what am I telling you? It's not about minutes or hours. It's about getting it done, and making the most of the time that you have while you're in the gym. Okay? So go out there, hit it, and go home. Recuperate, eat well, and enjoy your life. Okay, let's go on to another. This is kind of a bit of a bizarre question, but like you said, these are from some newbie individuals, and they don't know, right? So I think the question says, it's just coming up. It says, what will happen if I take supplements without going to the gym? Well, he says if I drink supplements without gym. So a little bit of broken English, but that's okay. I think it's Thabang Magali. Not too sure how to pronounce half these names. Okay. You take supplements and don't go to the gym, you're basically you might as well just go out, buy those supplements, go to your bathroom, and dump them in the toilet and flush, because they're going to do nothing for you. Unless you have a medical condition that requires supplementation, nothing is going to make you grow. The only exception to that, I won't even get into that, because I actually had a heated debate with an individual the other night. He didn't believe me that there's actually been studies done where there's actually some drugs that people are taking where you don't even have to go to the gym and you can build lean muscle mass. No, you're not going to turn into Mr. Olympia doing that, but yeah, that's just how sophisticated drugs have gotten. So if you're not going to train, don't go wasting your money on supplements. Bottom line, okay? I'm going to do 1 or 2 more, and that's to wrap it up because we're coming at the half-hour mark, and I don't like to go much further than that. Here's a relative question. Many people might find worth worth knowing the answer to. This says, work out first before you eat, or eat before, or basically want to know is, should I train? Should I eat before I train or eat after? Well, that's kind of a personal thing. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I wouldn't be going excessively long periods of time without food, and then try and go in and do an intense workout, because you're probably going to flatten out, and you're probably just going to be dragging your ass by the time you're partway through. So eating before is how long before and what you eat. For me personally, I prefer to train first thing in the morning. I don't eat a whole lot, and there were many years where I would not eat at all before I go to the gym. That's when I spent almost 4 years where I carried a good amount of muscle, but extremely lean, and I always trained on an empty stomach. And I did a circuit train. I was literally done in 20 minutes. And for those of you who don't believe you can actually build a good physique on that, yes, you can, because I've done it. Okay, so but for the person who's trying to build muscle mass, I would probably stay away from not eating at all before you go to the gym. But then again, if we're talking about going in the gym at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you've already had, probably several meals at that point. So maybe you would take something that's going to give you a little bit of energy before going to the gym. And I do not mean these energy drinks. That is another waste of time. People wasting your money. All they are is sugar and caffeine. On the whole, not good for you whatsoever. And especially if you're combining it with some other stuff, you can find yourself in a lot of trouble. So make sure that you're not dragging your rear end before you hit the gym. And whether you eat before or eat right after, and there is no such thing for to go along with this answer, there's no such thing as an anabolic window, meaning, once you've done your workout, you got 20 minutes or 30 minutes to get your protein requirement in there. That's a lot of bullshit, okay? Has no bearing, has no validity whatsoever. So, but you don't want to be waiting 2 or 3 hours, but whenever you can get to if you prepare your food, which is what you want to do, you can eat a reasonable time after you train. Train, shower, get dressed, go get a bite to eat, carry on with your day or whatever it is, at that point. Okay, so this has been a relatively reasonable Q&A session. I hope that those of you that are listening to it enjoyed it, and it will be posted on YouTube for people to come by and watch later. At this point in time, I'd like everybody who is watching on YouTube, if they could like and subscribe, keep this channel going and building. Remember, this platform serves many purposes, but its primary purpose is to give a voice to natural trainers. That's what my whole platform is. I am dedicated to natural bodybuilding, but if you're a fitness athlete, or if you're just somebody who wants to get in better shape or lose weight or gain weight, you can feel free to contact me. I do have Facebook pages as well for this, for Bull Fierce training. A ton of knowledge, a ton of experience. You can contact me about doing programs. I have 2 new packages coming out in the next week or 2. And I do hope to see you again, possibly Wednesday or Friday. Remember that Fridays are Spotlight Fridays, and we have a rescheduled show that kind of went awry last Friday with Linda Schwein or Schwein. Sorry, Linda, if I got that wrong. Anyways, we had some technical difficulties, but I think we got it ironed out, and I want to give you a chance to hear her story, because it is pretty incredible. Anyways, I'm going to sign off for now. I hope that everybody is safe. Take care of one another. Train hard, train Bull Fierce, and God bless.